This sturdy unit is designed specifically for wheelchair patient weighing and features a floor-hugging ramp as well as non-skid surfaces on the ramp and platform. A handrail is also a part of the scale for patient stability and assurance. Upon receipt of the $64.95, make sure that you receive 2 cartons. The large flat carton contains the scale platform, ramp, chair stop, and handrail. The smaller oblong carton contains the column and weight indicator. Make sure that the proper side of the carton is facing up. This box contains delicate instruments that must be handled with care when being unpacked. It is important that the box is positioned flat so that the lid may be lifted up and off the box. Approximately 2 to 3 weeks. Now, before unpacking the large carton, it is extremely important that you take note here. Do not, repeat, do not clip the strap that is secured around the scale base indicated here by the arrow. This strapping holds the base's suspension system in place. To remove the scale base while keeping the box intact, have 2 people lift the base out of the box and place it next to the box on the ground, still being careful to make sure the unit remains strapped. At this point, it is advisable to lift your various pieces onto a tabletop so they are easier to work with. Next, lift the base unit onto a tabletop for easy access to its underside in one of the upcoming assembly steps. At this point, it would be wise to test to see if the base has remained seated. Give it a gentle nudge and it should move freely from side to side. Now you're ready to snip the strapping that has held the base unit suspension in place. First, attach the column. To do this, remove the 4 7/16" screws from the column bracket on the scale's base. Set the column in place, lining up the screw holes and making sure that the back or wide side of the column faces the scale deck. In some cases, however, installation is done with the narrower end of the column facing the scale deck, and in such instances the operator controls the scale from the platform side. You will see this setup later when a wheelchair is shown being rolled onto the scale. Do not tighten the screws completely yet. Now for the trickiest part of the assembly operation, the installation and seating of the scale's load cell. First, hook the load cell to the shock absorber. Please note to handle the load cell assembly with care. Do not drop, bend, or twist it. Also, please note the large flat metal hook on the bottom of the shock absorber apparatus. This will be a key element in properly seating the load cell in the column. Now, carefully insert the load cell assembly into the column, being sure to drop it into the slot on the back side of the column that is the wider side. Guide the assembly all the way down the column. Secure the top hook bolt by carefully placing it into the round hole at the top of the column. Then position the grommet in the notch on the back of the column. When properly seated, the load cell assembly should not touch the sides of the column. In this next step, you are definitely at an advantage if you have placed the scale base on the tabletop. The view shown here is what you should see looking into the open area located below the column. Look closely and you will see the large flat metal hook swinging freely above the long lever and the nose iron pivot. The nose iron pivot is being pointed to here, which is directly above the long lever. The metal hook you've just lowered down through the column must be secured into the nose iron pivot from the back. The trick is to lift the long lever along with its nose iron pivot. Then slide the metal hook under the nose iron pivot and release. Look carefully here and you can see that the hook has been secured around the pivot. Once you are sure the load cell has been properly anchored, you can tighten down the screws securing the column to the scale's base. Now the hard part is behind you. You can now install the handrail. You will note there are 2 9/16" screws on one side of the base or weigh bridge. Remove these screws, then set the handrail in place, aligning the screw holes, reinstall the screws, and tighten. The next step is to install the chair stop. This thin white bar will be positioned so that the flat edge on each end is facing down, flush with the scale platform. First, remove the screws from each side of the base with a Phillips screwdriver, set the chair stop in place, flat side down, then replace and tighten the screws. This simple chair stop is a safety feature which also adds to patient assurance. At this point, the scale may be gently lowered to the floor to continue assembly. You are now ready to attach the ramp. Note the T-slots on the scale's base. These will line up with the T-pins on the back of the ramp. When aligned, simply drop the T-pins into the slots and the ramp is attached. The ramp, as well as the chair stop, may be attached to either side of the scale depending on the configuration of the area on which you will be using the scale. The mounting bracket features the ability to rotate almost 180 degrees for viewing the weight indicator at multiple angles. A safety pin keeps the mounting bracket from being rotated too far to damage the load cell cable to the scale. Detecto's model 6495 is now operational. Note that wheelchairs should always be backed onto the scale and the wheels locked for patient safety. As mentioned earlier, this scenario illustrates the scale in use with the indicator facing toward the platform. In many instances, the scale is assembled so that the indicator faces away from the platform. Here's a helpful tip to speed weighing operations in your facility and minimize any inconvenience to patients. When you set up your scale, pre-weigh all of your empty wheelchairs. Clearly mark or stencil each wheelchair's weight directly onto the back of the chair. This way you'll know the chair's weight at a glance, and you can enter the chair's weight electronically as a TARE weight or subtract it manually from the total gross weight shown on the scale. This simple procedure will also eliminate the need to load and unload patients each time they are weighed to determine the weight of the empty chair. Detecto's digital healthcare scales feature the 758C weight indicator, a precision full-featured instrument with selectable units, automatic display lock, push button and keypad TARE, selectable key lockout, ID storage, and serial connectivity. This video will explain these functions and show you why the 758C indicator is the perfect choice for scales in hospitals, doctors' offices, weight loss clinics, long-term care facilities, or anywhere accurate weight is required. As you will soon find out, one of the great features of the 758C is that with all of the incredibly diverse functions it is capable of performing, it can also be used very easily for basic weighing without any learning curve. To begin, turn the power on, making sure the scale platform is clear. The 758C indicator will go through its opening sequence. It will power up to 0 if that function is enabled. If it does not power up to 0, as we'll illustrate here, simply push the 0 key. For weighing only use, the yellow quick keys on the left side of the 758C provide fast, easy operation even by first-time users. These keys may be all that you need for basic weighing, and they're highlighted in yellow to find easily. To toggle units from pounds to kilograms, push the units key. To return to pounds, simply push the units key again. The third yellow quick key is lock release, which is used to lock and unlock the display. With a patient on the scale and a stable indication, press the lock release key. The lock indicator will come on, shown here, and the patient has stepped off the scale but the weight is locked in. Pressing the key a second time will unlock the display and return the weight display to 0. Push-button TARE operation without a known TARE weight is a simple 2-button process. The object being tared is placed on the scale, whether it's a walker, wheelchair, or whatever is being tared. Press the TARE key twice. The indicator will display 0 net. Then remove the wheelchair or walker and return to the scale with the patient to be weighed. The patient and the TARE weight can now be weighed on the scale, and the net weight is displayed on the indicator. This is the weight of the patient only. As illustrated here, you can press the gross key to show the gross weight also, and press it again to toggle back and forth between gross weight and net weight. The patient and the object being tared are now removed from the scale, and the display returns to 0. Press the gross key again and it will show the TARE weight. For keypad TARE with a known TARE weight, place the patient and the wheelchair on the scale and press the TARE key once to enter TARE mode. Using the numeric keys, type in the TARE weight and press the enter key. In this case, the wheelchair weighs 25 pounds. The indicator will enter net mode, displaying the weight of the patient only, 204.6 pounds. Remove the patient and the wheelchair or walker. The indicator will display a negative net weight. Press the gross key to return to normal weigh mode. The 758C indicator can calculate body mass index for you. Body mass index measurements have been shown to be an accurate estimate of health risk when used as part of a comprehensive health assessment. The 758C quickly calculates BMI by simply entering the patient's height while weighing. To factor BMI, a patient should be weighed on the scale. Then press the ID height key. It will display feet mode. Enter the height of the patient in feet. Press enter. Then enter the patient's height in inches and press enter again. It's as easy as that. In this case, a 6' 2" person weighing 205 pounds has a BMI of 26.3, which is a healthy body mass index, as illustrated by the bar graph across the bottom right side of the display. One of the primary new features of the 758C is serial connectivity, which provides output to a printer or computer for recording weight, BMI, height, time, and date. Data sent to a PC is very useful in electronic medical record keeping. Printing weight data is easy with the new 758C. Once a printer is connected to the 758C serial port, it's just a matter of pressing the print enter key. In this case, a 6' 2" patient weighing 206.4 pounds is having their BMI calculated. With a simple push of the print enter key, the data is output to a printer, giving you a paper copy of weight, BMI, height, time, and date. Connect the 758C to a computer by using the serial port, and you now have efficient electronic medical record keeping useful in physicians' offices, weight loss clinics, or athletics. Once again, by pushing the print enter key, the weight data is sent to the PC and can be automatically inserted into a patient's medical records with the push of a button. This gives you the option of having weight, BMI, height, time, and date inserted electronically into your medical records simply by pushing one key.